So it's late at night. I work today in meetings. I'm tired. Going to the Renaissance Festival in just a little over a week. Let's make a hat. All right, this is my whole pattern. That's it. Simple, right? All right, now we are going to start cutting things out. All right, so now I'm going to grab some of this stiffening material. I think this piece will be big enough. Oh, not that one. Move you to the side. So this is a little thinner. This one's a little thicker. This piece is a little thicker, but it got folded at the store when I bought it. I was really mad when she did that. Let's see if I can cut this out of here. Oh, maybe. I was going to say no, but I think I can just. You guys, look at that. 2.5 inches. That's the magical number for a brim, I guess. Awesome. I really wanted to use this thicker stuff. It's just a little stiffer. And I'll save that other piece for another project. All right. So let me optimize this as much as I can. All right. And now we will cut it out. My kitty scissors need to be sharpened. So we may be doing the parade of Sherry's scissors to see what's going to work. Okay, these are working okay. That can be used for a future project. And there's our brim. All right, now I'm going to, so I am going to mark this one, mark the quadrants. So this is the back. All these marks are going to help me when I go to sew the fabric to this. I can match them all up and make sure everything is copacetic before I move on. Okay, see, I got that little bit of a, I may have to try to iron this down, but again, I think my wire is going to fix a lot of that. Okay, so this is where my wire, my floral wire, and my floral tape is going to come in handy. So I'm going to take my floral wire, and I don't know how many I'm going to need. I think I'm going to do 2, because 1 is just so flimsy. 2 is really flimsy. What we want to do is we want to use this on the outside to kind of hold the shape. So I'm just going to offset them a little bit. That just makes sense to me so that I can overlap, so I don't end up with like a hard joint. Okay. That probably didn't make any sense at all what I just said, so I will show you what I mean. When I was a kid, I hated floral tape because I didn't understand that you had to stretch it to make it stick. And I was always like, how do people use this? And then I found out and I felt really dumb. I was like, oh, I see. It is still kind of weird stuff. Because it's kind of gummy. You know what I mean? It's very weird. All right. And I am just going to get this started. And I am just going to wrap. And see what happens. This is going to be Doll's dishwater, so I am going to, and this is going to take me a while to do, so I am going to pause the video. I am going to put on an audiobook, and I will be right back. So I've got as wide a zigzag stitch as my machine will do, and I'm carefully sewing it right next to the edge. I'm trying really hard not to hit the wire. Every once in a while I am catching it though, so you want to be really careful, so I'm going to go real slow. Just a little piece of floral tape to kind of conceal those ends as much as possible. All right. One wired hat brim, and see how that's kind of taking care of that edge a little bit. I could kind of bend it down. So that's doing a pretty good job of holding it flat. It doesn't have to be super flat. Like it's a hat, right? It's going to move around. It's going to have its own personality. It's one of my hats. It's going to have its own personality. That's another thing. I tend to put a lot of stuff on my hats, so I hope this is sturdy enough. That plastic canvas is so nice and sturdy. We will find out. We will find out. Okay. So, next I need to cut out my fabric. So, hold the phone. I'll be back with some fabric. I found this beautiful scrap of fabric. I have no idea what the fabric content is. It's a shantung of some sort. It's shot, so you have pink warp and you have blue weft. You can see the blue weft here, hopefully. It's gorgeous. The color shifts and moves in the light. Wouldn't this make a pretty hat? Like, I don't think I would ever, there's not enough to really, like, I'm a big girl. There's not enough here for anything. Maybe like a half lining or something. Or like, I don't know. But it's kind of scratchy too. Like, I wouldn't want to make clothing out of it. It wouldn't be comfortable to wear. But I think as the outer fabric of a hat. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking. I need 2 rings of fabric. One for the top and one for the underneath. And then I need a, actually I need 3 rings of fabric. So I need to make a sandwich. I need a brim, which is just going to be a circle. I need a ring for underneath to attach to this. I don't know how to describe it. I'm not going to describe it well. But I need 3 rings total. 1 lining underneath. That can be anything. And I've got this brown canvas that I'm thinking about pairing with this just because it will be kind of neutral. It'll block the light. It's kind of a rough fabric though. I don't know if I love it with this. Like, this is so pretty. I have some blue canvas. I don't really want canvas though. I wish I had some silk. I did have some blue silk once upon a time. What did I do with it? Hard telling. I had a little scrap of blue, beautiful blue silk. Who knows? So maybe I'll just do the whole hat in this. Well, like I said, I don't think I want the underside because that has to touch my face, and this is kind of scratchy. It's like really scratchy. But it's a beautiful color. There's plenty of it here for a hat. Like, I could really do any kind of hat out of this, which is kind of cool. So this is where I'm thinking I'm going to go. So if I cut 3 of these, well, I could cut 2 of them. And I need my big pattern. I need this pattern. This is what I need 3 of. So I could cut 2 of these right away. And the big circle. I think this is going to be my hat. Look, I am stash busting, and I'm using all of the pretty fabrics, all of the fancy fabrics, all of the stuff that I've just been hoarding forever. Like, this is a scrap from another project, and it's just been sitting in my stash doing nothing for years. Like 8 years. I'm using it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm using it. This is done. It's done, and it's done. It's maybe a little fancier than I was thinking about going. But, you know what? I deserve a fancy Renfest hat. I had a very unfancy Renfest hat for years. I can have a fancier Renfest hat for darn sake. All right. I know, such language. I wish I knew if this was natural fiber. I don't have a lighter in here. I'm also kind of landlocked back in this corner, and I'm terrified of this is how I die kind of thing. Back in this corner. Okay. So let's try to get the maximum out of this we can. You know, I'm still probably going to have quite a bit left. I can make a second hat out of this someday. I'm like, ooh, part of me is like, you're going to cut into this and you're going to regret it because later you're going to have like a vest pattern or something. But I don't know. I have so much fabric, you guys. You can't take it with you, right? So just use it. Say it. Say it into your computers right now. Sherry, just use it. Put it in the comments. Sherry, just use it. I hear you. I hear you. We're just going to do it. We're just going to cut into this beautiful purple fabric. That's another thing, too. When I was on cast, you can't wear purple. Well, you couldn't. I don't know if that's the rule now. But you can wear purple. Purple was for the queen. Even though she never wore purple, or rarely ever. But I don't work there. I can wear whatever color I want. So, I might work there again. If you're on my Patreon, I will put an update to the Patreon soon. Okay, just making sure I'm all lined up still. Okay. I'm all pinned. I'm gonna do it. Do I sound convincing? We're gonna do it. Oh my gosh. This stuff is so bad. It's just just raveling. Raveling, unraveling. I think they're interchangeable. I think I looked that up once and found out they're interchangeable. I was like all trying to be pedantic, and then found out it doesn't matter which way you say it. It just doesn't matter. Okay. Bye-bye, pretty fabric. Hello, gorgeous hat. What am I going to use for lining fabric? All right, I'm going to cut out these two circles. I'm going to cut out, or donuts. I'm going to cut out a big circle, and then I will come back to you. Okay. I have everything together. So, here are all of the players. We have our brim stiffening, right? And everything's marked. I marked all 4 quadrants, and I marked what they were, so that way I can make sure, because there are going to be slight differences, right? Like I tried to make sure the oval was even and blah blah blah, but there are going to be slight differences. My head's going to be a little lopsided. I drew it a little lopsided, I cut it a little lopsided, whatever. So you want to make sure that you have these quadrants so that you're layering this correctly in the same way. So we have our stiffening layer for the brim. We have 3 donuts of the fashion fabric. We have 1 circle. Oh, and I broke down and I ironed everything. I couldn't take it. It was too wrinkly. So I have 1 circle of the fashion fabric. And then I decided to go with this obnoxious Barbie pink for the lining. Because why not? It's not period. I don't care. It's lining. Nobody's going to say it. Okay, so I've got this beautiful pink for the lining. I've got a donut and a circle, and you can see I have those together. So I'm going to try to kind of piece this together so you can kind of visualize what we're doing. So this is the lining, right? So this is going to be the inside of the hat. This circle is going to be on the outside of the hat. And I'm just going to kind of place it for right now just so you can see it. This circle is just a transition to get us down to the brim. So I need this, and then I need 1 more to act as a transition. I need 1 of the fashion fabric, right? So again, that's all going to be, that pink is all going to be on the inside. So this will all be sewn around this outer edge. All right. And then this will be left open. And this will, so then this will be smashed in between these layers. So it'll go here. Let me unpin a couple of these. hope this is making sense. But it's just so you can visualize what I'm doing. Because I'm going to do a lot of this sewing off camera. Because here's the thing, it takes me forever to edit my videos because I end up with like 5 hours of video and most of it's like, you know, 4.5 hours of me sewing and like 20 minutes of me talking to you and explaining what I'm doing. So I'm hoping to kind of yada yada through some of the sewing and just kind of explain it to you. Okay, so that's going to be sandwiched in between. So this is the bottom. This is the part that'll be towards my face, that'll be on my head. And this outer ring will be sewn to this inner ring. So that way you'll have a big sandwich like this. I know that probably doesn't make any sense right now, but hopefully that kind of makes sense. So I'm going to do this in pieces. I'm going to start sewing things together, pressing things, and I'll show you what I'm doing in the meantime. So you know, as I go along. So the first things I'm going to sew is I'm going to sew this. I'm going to sew this one. I'm going to sew this one the same as that one. Boop, boop. And then I'm going to sew these together on the outside. So this is going to be sewn together on the outside. This is going to be sewn together on the outside, and then I'll come back. Oh, it's storming outside. Oh, I think my dog's outside. All right, I'll be back. Oh my goodness. All right, I am done with my 2 halves. So hopefully this will make a whole lot more sense. So it's 2 sandwiches. So you've got, get the fluff out of there. So this is the top part, right? So we've got the circle, there's a donut, and then there's another donut. And so that's what makes, right, the poofiness of the hat. And then this is the lining. So we've got another circle, a donut, and another donut. And notice that I've got the stiffening stitched to the top side of this donut. So this is ready to be put into place. So I am going to mark my quadrants again because a lot of that's gotten lost. So let me mark my quadrants so I can find it. Hopefully I'm on screen. Looks like I am. So I'm going to mark my quadrants. I mean, I could kind of see it, but it's faded. This has been steamed and all that kind of good stuff. So I just want to line these up. And again, I can kind of see it. So I'm just going to transfer it over here so that I can line everything up when I put this sandwich together. Hope you guys are hungry because I made a sandwich. A hat sandwich. There it is. Okay. So I've got all of my lines transferred over. Let's see, what is what? Something else I need to think about. So this looks like the right. So this is the right. That makes this the left. That's how right and left work. Okay, so this is the back. And this is the front. Sweet. All right. So now what we're going to do, let me put this machine out of our way really quickly. Okay. Machine put away so you can more clearly see what I'm doing. Okay, so again, here are my 2 sandwiches, and I've been very careful about matching all of my notches. I notched this thinking I was going to have to turn this one inside out. I don't have to turn this one inside out. This is the one I had to turn inside out. So I notched that because that had to get turned and pressed. This is not going to get turned and pressed, but well, it can be notched too because it needs to fit over this. So I'm going to do that really quickly. I'm just going to notch this. Those aren't the scissors I want. These are the scissors I want. So I'm just going to notch this. I went to grad school so I can notch fabric on camera for you. Just kidding. I didn't learn this in grad school. I learned this from my grandma. There we go. All right. So that one's notched. This one, I might want to notch that one too. We'll deal with that in a minute. I'm probably going to sew either some bias tape. See what bias tape I have, or some Petersham. I think I have some Petersham ribbon somewhere up there. All right. You can't see where I'm looking. I don't know why I said up there when you can't see where I'm looking at all. There's a pin somewhere. Where are you? Let's not sew this together to sew a pin into it. That sounds like a good idea. Okay. But it's laying pretty flat. I'm pretty happy with this. That was kind of fun. It kind of... Remember I'm getting tired. Can you tell? Remember when you were in grade school, gym class, and you'd have the big parachute? Is that just like my generation? It can't be. Right? All right. So what's this again? This is the front. All right, let's find the front on this. That's the back. See why it's so important to mark this and mark it clearly so you can match this up? All right, and I'm just going to stuff the lining inside. Let's match things up. Back to, so I'm sorry, I'm doing that off camera, aren't I? So I'm just looking for these notches and just lining them up. I know I got about a 1/2 inch seam allowance, so I'm just going to put a pin in that. And then I'm going to go to the next quadrant. And there's my mark. There's my mark. Line them up. Give me my seam allowance. And put a pin in it. Line up my marks. Give it about that 1/2 inch seam allowance. And put a pin in it. And last quadrant, line up my marks. Those marks aren't lining up. There we go. And seam allowance. And pin it. Alright, and then we can ease the rest of this into place. Man, am I sure I got these lined up right? Let me take my pins out, double check. Because it's acting like it's backwards. Pretty good. Okay. Might have had it backwards. It's like 2 in the morning. Okay. So, once you get it all lined up, you get all your marks made, you stuff, and just stuffing the lining in. You marvel at your fabric choices and how brilliant you are for making them. And then you line your marks up. Give yourself your seam allowance. And stick a pin in it. Alright, I think I got it now. Now we're cooking with gas. See, now it's fitting just right. This is why it's important to pay attention to which your right and your lefts are. And if you mark it wrong, like, it will fit weird. Did you see how I had, like, almost no fabric on one side and, like, so much on the other side? It was so uneven. And I just, like, had to take another look at it and be like, don't think that's right. And it wasn't. But now we fixed it. See, now everything lines up. Now that I got it oriented the right way, everything lines up perfectly. Okay. Now I can ease these in-betweeny spaces and put in more pins. And now I gotta decide, how do I want to finish this off? Do I want to... I could machine stitch it. That's one thing I can do. I can hand stitch it. I can, like... So what I'm thinking is I can turn this under and machine stitch it. I can turn this under and I can hand stitch it. I can also cover this up with like a bias tape or a Petersham ribbon, which is maybe what I might do. Okay. Again, I'm kind of matching up my seams, smoothing things out. And so if I've got puckering, see that puckering? This just needs to be smoothed out. So I can smooth it out. Smooth it out. There we go. All right. So it's all pinned. My lining is more or less stuffed inside my hat. It will settle itself more as time goes on. It's just kind of moving around right now until it finds its equilibrium. And then we have to decide what we're going to do with this raw edge. We can turn it in and tack it down. We can cover it in bias tape. We can do a bunch of stuff. So after we decide on this edge, we'll decide what we're going to do here. Well, we'll try it on, see how it fits. Just moving the lining around so it's not bunching up like it's doing now. And it's these little finishing things that really make the finished product look nice, I think. All right. So I'm going to decide how hats are made if they're a wool felt. How fancy hats are made is that this would be turned down and sewn over. But I don't really have enough to, because this is fabric, I'd have to turn and sew it over. I could do that. I could do that. Maybe. I'd have to do it by hand. I don't know how ambitious I'm feeling. But, and then you'd end up with an edge like that underneath the hat. Again, I could cut it and just cover it with bias tape. I could, or Petersham ribbon. I could fold it in, press it down, and cover with Petersham ribbon. Press it in like that so it matches. And that's another way that they're finished in the factory, is that they'll be, the edges will be folded like that, and then it'll be sewn down. It's another nice kind of finished edge. So I'm going to think about this, make a decision on how I'm going to finish this out, and I'll be back. And we are back. So it's actually the next day, but I am going to call this the one-day hat project because this could be done in one day. It was just late last night when I started and I had to get to bed. But it's the next day and I just picked it up and finished off the brim. So let's flip it over. It's not my best hand sewing work, but I decided to flip it over and stitch it down by hand. So that took a little time, but that's done now. And we're almost done. We are almost there. So I did mark on the inside of the hat where the back of the hat was, so I could keep track of that so that I'm putting it on the right way. But I'm just going to finish this off with some double fold bias tape, some narrow double fold bias tape. I just happen to have some laying around in pink. And so we are going to trim this down and we are going to sew this on. So let's get, I'm almost out of, look at what a great match this was. I just happened to have this in my stash. So perfect, but look at how I'm almost out of it. So I'm going to have to use a different top thread. So let me clear all this out of the way and get the sewing machine set up. So again, I've marked where the back is. I'm going to start and end my bias tape there so that it's clear where the back is. And I'm just going to roll enough off of here so I don't have to deal with this little mini bolt thing. These can be kind of a pain. So I'm just going to kind of loosely measure enough to go around once. And then we'll put the rest of that away for another day. So this is super narrow, which I really kind of want here. I just want a little narrow hem. So I'm going to open this up and I'm going to try to sew on the stitch line as closely as possible without overlapping. So let's see what's going to be the easiest way to do this. All right, I'm just going to stitch this down and I'll be right back. Okay, well that was super awkward, but I got it sewn down. Let me zoom out a little bit. So that was super awkward, but I got it sewn down. And so now I'm just going to sew this. I'm going to hand sew this down. Like I hand sewed my rim down. See how messy this is. Like if you look at the rim where I sewed this down, you can tell where I left off last night and I was starting to get tired and where I picked up today. It got a lot neater today. But anyway, but that's it. We just have to sew this down, and you could cheat and machine sew it. Like, who's going to see it's on the inside of your hat? I'm going to hand sew it because I'm just that bish. But yeah, and then that's it. So we'll do the big reveal at the end where I will show you what it looks like with feathers and everything on it. But that is your one-day hat. All right, so I'll see you in a bit. Well, that's it. It's a hat. So this is a flat cap. It's a pretty versatile hat, really. A soft flat cap. Pretty versatile hat. It can be worn by upper classes or lower classes. This one's a little bit fancier fabric, so maybe worn by somebody with a little bit of money, especially the color, right? This kind of purple color. But you can make them out of really plain fabrics and have them worn by lower classes. Now we'll add plumes and buttons and anything else you want to personalize it. So again, this is my one-day hat making challenge. Challenge accepted, challenge won. So yes, I can make a hat in one day. Even though this took me 2 days, all added up, it took less than 24 hours to make this hat. It really took less than like 7 hours to make this hat. So not too bad. Not too bad. So that's it for now. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.